So today's video is a little bit different. I thought it would be fun to take you through starting a new sketchbook, and I'm currently in Thailand at the moment, which is why I've transitioned to using a sketchbook rather than my usual canvas panels. And since I couldn't bring all of my lovely art supplies with me, I thought I'd give you my initial impressions of the Holbein Acrylic Gouache basic set. This primary set comes with only a couple colours: magenta, cyan, yellow, black and white. There is quite a lot of debate about the different colour palettes you can use. So there is the traditional red, green, blue colour palette, and then the more modern magenta, cyan, yellow colour palette. I don't really get too bogged down in the details of all this. I think it is a really interesting topic though, and a video I suggest that you watch is Studio Wildlife's most recent video. It's just really interesting, and he goes into a lot more detail about the science behind this colour palette and the different applications that you can use. But for me, I'm just swatching these colours. I don't really have a preference for a particular colour palette. I just think pick what works best for you. Each palette has their own pros and cons, and that's something that I think every artist should find out for themselves. Creating your own colour chart can be a great way to start a sketchbook. I don't know about you, but the idea of starting a sketchbook to me is very terrifying. I've never actually managed to keep a sketchbook before because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I thought, let's ease into this and do something easy. I can paint squares, so there wasn't any risk of ruining the new sketchbook. So what you want to do is first of all start off with the colours as they are from the tube. So I'm laying down the magenta, the yellow and the cyan. Then we're going to mix some transition shades between these primary colours, and then they become our secondary colours. After you've put down your initial colour mixes, the next step that I chose to do was to mix each colour with the white paint to see the kind of pastel shades that I could create. Looking back now, I do think I could have added a little bit more white to the mixes, but it still does the job that I want it to do, and I'm trying to remind myself that this is just a sketchbook for me and it doesn't have to be perfect, and I'm sure a lot of other artists do the same thing. But yeah, I need to let go of my perfectionism with this. Then the next row is going to be mixing all the original colours with black paint. There is a bit of controversy surrounding black paint. I know some artists don't use it at all, and they prefer to mix black with a shade of deep blue and something like burnt umber, like a brown shade, and this does create a really nice black. But I'm an artist that doesn't mind using black out of the tube, and I think if you're a beginner artist, I would just test out different methods, see what you like. The last row involved mixing each colour with grey, and this is something I've never done before, but I really liked the effect of this, and I think I'm going to take this method into some of my paintings. I just really loved the shades that came out of this. I think it would be really good to include in landscapes, and especially for me, since I do use quite a lot of saturated palettes, but I think you can have a really really good effect using greys in your work, because they can actually make the work appear more saturated when they're put next to a really vibrant colour. And I think I generally use too many vibrant colours altogether. I think if I was to pare back some of my colours in future paintings, they would pop a lot more. So this is something I think I'm going to experiment with a lot more in the future. I always think it's a good idea to see how your paint reacts with water, so I decided to do a little gradient where the top is just the paint straight out of the tube as it is, and then as the gradient goes, more and more water is added to see the type of watercolour like effects I can come up with this paint. And then next to this gradient, I thought I'd just do a few brush strokes, one with absolutely no water on the brush to see what dry brush effects I can get and the type of texture that this paint has, and then the other swatches were just with more and more water added. I hope you liked the video. I know it was pretty simple, but I've never actually made one of these colour charts before, and I just think they're a really good way to get to know your paints before you commit to any actual paintings. And I definitely do this again in the future, just so I'm more prepared before I do any real sketches. If anyone has any tips for using acrylic gouache, or any sketchbook spread ideas, or even just how to keep a sketchbook if you're a bit of a perfectionist like me, please leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you again in the next one.